Here we are, yet again, with my final Leafs video of the season after a first round exit in the playoffs. Tonight's game, I thought to myself, they need, and I think I mentioned it in my last video, the Leafs need to come out in the first period, have a good start, take control, and make their own fate in this game. Take control of the game. And you know what? They kind of did that. You know, they've been such slow starters. But tonight, they were the team that came out of the gates and looked to be in control and dictating the pace and the tempo and had the possession and things were looking good. There was no scoring in the first, but I thought, you know what, this is a good sign. You know, they're pushing, they're at it. And I thought to myself after the first period, which was scoreless, like I said, second period is their best period of the game. So after such a good first period, it's only going to ramp on up in the second, right? And as the game went on into the second period, the pace increased a lot. Like, it was back and forth. It was actually a pretty even game for the most part. And it had probably one of the best tempoed games of the series. It was a lot of back and forth action, really quick. But in the second period, Montreal would take a 2-0 lead by the end of it, and that those second periods that the Leafs have been so dominant, and even though they had a really good period for the most part, they ended up getting scored on twice. The first goal I didn't see because it only came a few minutes into the period, and I was in the shower because I got home tonight, and my wife had made a couple meals during the day, which means every single bloody pot, pan, dish in the whole kitchen has been used and is all piled around the sink in the counters for me to clean up when I get home, right? So, and I can't just leave that shit. I got to clean it. So I got a bit behind the 8 ball on that and was a little delayed in getting to the second period. But so I missed that first goal. So I don't know if it was a good one or a bad one or not. And then over 10 minutes later, around the 15-minute mark, Montreal scored again. And this one was on a power play, and it was ridiculous because it was a little hold by Engvall in the corner in Montreal's end, a little chintzy call. Whereas a few minutes earlier on a shift, Stahl totally slew-footed Dermott, took him right down from behind, just and that wasn't called. And then Engvall's little hold was called. It was kind of the officiating like that was kind of like that all night. It kind of not in the Leafs' favor, and it obviously had a direct outcome on the game, which I'm not making excuses, but that's the way it is, right? Like, if you're going to call a chintzy little hold like that on the Leafs, you got to call the fucking giant slew foot on the Canadians, right? Like, it was stupid. But anyways, down 2-0 they went in the second. And then in the third, the Leafs that's when they would really start to take over, and they finally got a power play chance later in the period, or halfway through maybe, and their power play finally looked like they didn't score, but the power play, the way they moved the puck and stuff, it looked like the power play almost of the start of the season, where they were just going on instinct, and it's like they weren't second guessing themselves and stuff, and generated some good chances and some good momentum, and the pace and everything kept up during the third. But they just Carey Price, the longer the game went on, the more Carey Price became a factor, and the more you thought, I don't think the Leafs are going to get one by him, right? Like, I think he's going to steal this game for the Canadians, and ultimately he did. The Leafs would pull Campbell with around 3 minutes left, I think, in the game, and Toffoli was able to put one into the empty net to make it 3-0 Habs, and not much later, Nylander got on the board on a nice pass from behind the net by Spezza, and cut it to 3-1. So the Leafs pulled the goalie again and got some more chances, but just couldn't generate any more results. So the Leafs go down 3-1 in another elimination game, and are now, I don't know, 0-8 or something like that in elimination games in the last 13 years or whatever the fuck it is. This was such a weird game. Price stole it for the Habs. I still feel as though the Leafs were the better team tonight, and they were the better team in most games. Better team for 80 to 90% of the whole series. But here we are with a 7-game elimination. And tonight was, to illustrate how much better the Leafs were than the Habs, they led every category. Some of it was really close, but outshot them, out face offed them, even out hit them apparently. Um, they led every category. This is another case of their special teams letting them down. They only got, I think, one power play chance, maybe two, didn't score, and Montreal was able to score on the power play, so their PK let them down too. And their penalty kill, which was so good through the start of the series, in the last couple games really started to self-destruct, and then of course their power play's been shit. So special teams really sunk them in this series, especially later on in it. So I don't even know what to say. It's so weird. The thing that pisses me off is that it was a weird season. You've got the whole COVID thing going on. You got the weird divisions. They play the same teams 8, 9, 10 times a year of all the Canadian teams, and same with the other divisions. They all play each other however many times. So you've got that limited competition going on, and the Leafs manhandle the best teams in the North that all made the playoffs. The Jets, Oilers, Habs. So they go into the series as a favorite, as they should be. They're a much better team. I still believe they're 10 times the team Montreal is. Austin Matthews sets a record by scoring 41 goals, winning the Rocket Richard Trophy. Their decor has never been more rounded out and has never played this well in this kind of new regime. They're a really good D, a lot stingier than they have been, a lot more reliable than they have been. Freddie gets hurt, and Jack Campbell emerges from the ashes to become, a legitimate NHL goaltender, and is a real big story. Sets an NHL record with a win streak. And then they bring in guys like Simmons and Thornton and Foligno at the trade deadline to bolster the lineup, give them experience, give them toughness, and everything is looking good, right? Only as the year goes on, their power play starts to falter. Which was a really big factor in the postseason, not being able to score on the power play for the most part. And it's kind of like they finally learned some consistency too, because they only had 2 bad streaks where they maybe lost 4 in a row or 5 of 6 all year. There was only the 2 little blips, and for the most part they were just stringing wins together, right? And so it finally was like, oh, they've learned some consistency and stuff, right? So everything was pointing towards the Leafs are going to have a really good season and maybe make a playoff run, especially against the weak North teams. Like, this is their best chance, right? And they blew it. Right? And what makes it even worse is that A, it's against Montreal, which sucks for 2 reasons, because A, it's fucking Montreal, I hate their guts. B, Montreal is a lot worse team than Toronto. Like, the Leafs should have beaten these guys hands down, and yet they somehow fucking find a way to lose, right? So I've heard people banding about the fact, is there a curse? I'm starting to think maybe there is, just like with the Red Sox or whatever, the curse of the Bambino. I don't know when the curse for the Leafs came into effect and whose fault it was, but like, what the hell, right? You understand some of their losses to Boston, even the collapses, because Boston has been a really good team. And then last year, Columbus losing in the bubble in the 5-game series, it was like, oh, really? And then this year, losing to Montreal, like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on, right? These guys can't get out of the first round, no matter who their competition is, no matter what type of regular season they have and how much growth it looks like they've gone through. I don't even know what to say anymore, right? It's just disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, and I don't know. I have no idea. So, season's over. They fizzled out. Lost 3 in a row to squander a 3-1 series lead against a much inferior team, and like I said, what do you say about that, right? They blew it. That's short and simple. They blew it. So I still love the Leafs, of course. I always will. It's my own personal curse, right? I'll just the next thing I'll be interested in is to see if what happens to the team in the off season. Like, I've heard a lot of people talking about, analysts and stuff, saying that if the Leafs didn't get at least a series win this year, that maybe this thing could start getting torn apart. And they're not going to trade Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and stuff, but is it going to get blown up a little and some changes made, right? Because obviously it's not working, so they can't. It's not. You don't expect them to win the cup within the first 5 years or whatever, but you do expect at least one playoff series win at some point, right? But they can't seem to manage that. So that's the other thing. I feel bad for the Leafs because, like I said, they were the better team by far in this series. And whatever it was, bad starts, the opposition goalie standing on his head, whatever, right? Something always seemed to get in the way, and knocked them out of the playoffs. I feel bad for them because, like I said, they were the better team. They are the better team, and they seemed like they grew this year and figured a bit of stuff out. But here we are again. So, so like I said, I'll just be interested to see what happens in the off season, to see if they just have another go with this exact same group, if they make some minor tweaks, or if, like some of the analysts are saying, if they just there's more of a blow up going on. So time will tell. The summer will bring us those answers, but for now there's still 3 more rounds of playoff hockey to go. I'm probably not going to watch very much the next series in the North. I hate both those teams, the Jets and the Habs, so I don't want either of those teams to win. Mark my words, the Jets will manhandle the Habs and have them out in 5 or 6 games probably. In the other series, I don't like Tampa at all, so Carolina there, I guess I would have to cheer for them. They wouldn't be a bad option to win the Cup. I love Vegas, but after Colorado fucking hammered them last night, who knows what's going to happen there, because they can't seem to score any goals. And I don't really like Colorado all that much. I don't dislike them, but I just don't really like them either. And then, I hate the Bruins. So, yeah, I guess it's either Canes or Islanders or maybe Colorado would be okay, but Vegas for sure, So there's still a few teams I wouldn't mind seeing win the Cup. Maybe 5 teams I'd be okay with, but there's a few teams I really don't. Winnipeg, Montreal, and Tampa I really don't want to see win the Cup. I'd be fine with any of the other teams to varying degrees, but I'll just throw this out there. I do expect the Jets to beat the Habs pretty handily, unless Price stands on his head the whole series. I don't see Vegas getting past Colorado the way they're kind of going. As much as I want Vegas to win, that could be. I'd say Colorado wins 6. Maybe I think Vegas might be able to sneak out 1 or 2 wins, but I think Colorado in 6 there. Winnipeg in 5, maybe 6 if Price plays well. Tampa, Carolina, that one's intriguing. I'm going to say Tampa in 7. I think that one might go the distance. And then Islanders, Bruins is an interesting scenario. God, and I really don't know who to give the edge to there. I think that's going to be a 7-game series too, but I'm going to go with the Islanders just because I really want them to beat the Bruins because I hate those motherfuckers. So, that's 4 teams I really don't want to win the Cup. Jets, Habs, Tampa, and Boston. So those 4 I do not want to win. The other 4 I'd be okay with. So, but anyways, this is my last hockey video of the year. Whatever comes of the Cup finals will come of the Cup finals. It really doesn't matter overall because the Leafs won't be there. So, really, who gives a fuck? So, until 2021-22.